Oh, yes. I'd like to thank everybody that that stood behind me for this, especially Rebel News, of course, and you, Sheila. You're my hero now. Uh, there was a lot of people that commented on it, and I read most of them. Yes, I'd like to thank you all that supported me, and hopefully nothing like this ever happens again.
Well, I think the lesson for people to learn is if you stand up for yourself, sometimes the prosecution, the Crown, will back down. It's much easier to prosecute people who are not represented by lawyers or have the backing of Rebel News. But when these people, prosecutors and so on, see that that you show up with a lawyer, or that you show up with some Rebel News behind you to publicize what's going on, then they back down. That's the lesson people should learn.
Rebel Victory, the prosecutor in Hampton, New Brunswick, is dropping the coronavirus ticket issued to Walter Matheson. Today, I'm talking to Walter and his lawyer, Sam Goldstein, and I'm taking a victory lap around the bully cop who ticketed Walter. Walter Matheson could be any one of us, doing a completely normal thing, apart from other people, as they say we must do in the time of the Wuhan flu, and yet Walter still ended up on the wrong side of these ever-evolving pandemic regulations that don't seem to make any sense or have any real impact on COVID-19 transmissions, but they're being enforced with a heavy hand anyway.
If you come back, you will not be trespassing.
Does that include every Tim Hortons in town?
No, that's just one here in Hampton.
Just this one.
Just this one. So if you come back, you're trespassing. There's your ticket. Leave the parking lot now, sir. Let's do another one. Next one goes up to $1,000.
Really?
Yes. You can get up to $10,000.
How many have you given out today?
You're the first.
Well, I feel so good about
You're lucky.
that.
You're the first. You're the first asshole I've had.
Walter is the severely normal Hampton, New Brunswick man who found himself receiving a ticket for running afoul of the Quarantine Act for, you won't believe it, eating a muffin and drinking a coffee alone in his car in a Tim Hortons parking lot with the windows rolled up. In the abbreviated version of the story, Walter was parked in his car eating when an RCMP officer approached him. So Walter wisely started audio recording everything on his phone. The cop told Walter to move along, or apparently Walter, this older gentleman eating his baked goods alone, might attract teenagers to loiter in the Tim's parking lot. Walter questioned the ridiculousness of it to the officer, as most of us probably would, but then he attempted to comply with the officer's orders to leave. Now that's when the officer stopped Walter from leaving and gave him a $300 ticket for failing to comply with the Quarantine Act, but not before swearing and getting abusive with Walter first. Just take a listen to just some of the recording Walter made that day.
This country is still a free country.
Okay, if you don't move, I'm going to give you a $292 ticket.
Is that right?
Yes.
For doing what?
For not moving in compliance to what I'm saying. I'm trying to be
That's
nice
not
to
a
you.
law.
License, please. License, please.
No, I'll leave.
Then leave now.
Okay.
I was nice to you. I gave you a chance. Get out. If I catch you back here, it will be a $292 ticket.
What's your name, sir?
Constable John Thompson.
Okay, thank you, John.
Okay? I would still like to see your driver's license, though.
Well, I'm okay.
No, I would like to see it, sir. Stop right there. Driver's license.
Just a minute, I'll back up.
Doesn't matter. You don't have to. You can stop right where you are.
Oh. How long is this going to go on?
I have no idea.
No idea.
I don't like it any more than you do, but I'm doing a job. I'll be right back. Hey, sir, I was nice to you. I asked you to leave. You gave me a hard time, so now you're getting a ticket
I didn't give you
under
a
the
hard
failure
time.
to comply with the directions of the Emergency Measures Act. Yes,
get-
you did, sir.
No, I
Okay?
didn't. No,
You
I
didn't
didn't.
want to leave. Don't try arguing now. If you want to take it up with someone, you can take it up with the sergeant at the office. If you come back here, you will now be trespassing.
Excuse me?
If you come back, you will now be trespassing.
Does that include every Tim Hortons in town?
No, that's just one here in Hampton.
Just this one.
Just this one. So if you come back, you're trespassing. There's your ticket. Leave the parking lot now, sir. Let's do another one. Next one goes up to $1,000.
Really?
Yes. You can get up to $10,000.
How many have you given out today?
You're the first.
Well, I feel so good about
You're
that.
lucky. You're the first. You're the first asshole I've had.
Thank you very much.
You can hear the full audio recording of Walter's interaction that day and see the whole outrageous story at fightthefines.com. Now, we immediately at Rebel News jumped in to help Walter. With your help, we hired Walter, one of the best lawyers in the country, Sam Goldstein. He's a bencher with the Law Society of Ontario. Sam Goldstein was going to help Walter challenge that ticket. Now, this story, it's already crazy, but it gets even crazier. The cop who got vulgar with Walter and tried to bully him then tried to bully me. That cop hired a lawyer named Carley Parish to send a letter to my boss at Rebel News telling us to take down our video, accusing me, I think, she wasn't all that clear, of defaming the RCMP officer, who I didn't actually name in my video, not even once, by publishing the audio Walter recorded that she also strangely accused me of recording. And finally, Carley Parish demanded that I turn my recording over to the RCMP detachment communist style. It was insane, and of course, I didn't comply because this is a free country and journalism isn't illegal. I mean, seriously, you can't bully me. I work for Rebel News. Again, you can see the video that I did about that weird vignette in this whole weird saga and read the utterly bizarre letter Parish sent me at fightthefines.com. Now, I think in all, the videos that we did about the tribulations of poor Walter Matheson have close to 1 million views combined. But, friends, this thing gets even weirder. Now we're on a side road here. That inept lawyer, Carley Parish, just ran for the Liberals in New Brunswick in their provincial election and lost in an epic way just a couple of days ago, barely wrangling up over 1,000 votes. I guess unconstitutional bullying isn't a great campaign strategy in small-town maritime Canada. So that was a small bit of good news. A not nice person getting exactly what they deserve. But there is even better news. We have a victory on our hands here, friends. The prosecutor in Hampton has thrown out Walter's ticket. They say on a technicality, even though that technicality is something that could have easily been amended. I say they turfed the ticket because they all know that cop made a huge mistake and embarrassed himself and everyone else now forced to deal with the ticket after the fact. They're dropping that ticket because Walter fought back and because we told the world about what happened to Walter. Now, I caught up with Walter earlier this week to talk about the good news. Take a listen.
Well, I went to the court and I waited outside because there was 30 people ahead of me and they were only allowing a few people in at a time, a couple, I think. Anyway, I finally got in after the 30 people were done. This was 3 hours later. And I went in and sat on the bench and waited till waiting for them to call me up. When the last person up speaking to the judge finished, it was a woman and she left. And as she left, the judge got up and walked out the door. And I said, what on earth is going on here? And the sheriff there was standing next to me. He says, I don't know. So anyway, this lady comes over to me and she says, Walter? I said, yes. She said, I found your ticket this morning and it wasn't paid out properly, so we tore it up. Well, I don't know whether I believe that or not, but I kind of wonder why they didn't let me know when I was there, not 3 hours before that. But anyway, they said it was thrown out.
What do you think? Because I think that they tossed your ticket because they didn't think that you were going to fight back. I think they thought you were going to roll over. They didn't think you were going to go public. They didn't think that you would ultimately end up embarrassing the police force with your very public story. They didn't think you would end up with a lawyer, and they didn't think you would show up in court to contest the ticket. So I think that they were just didn't want to deal with Walter Matheson anymore. That's what I think. Now, Walter, I'm very happy to hear that your ticket has been dropped. I know a lot of people were cheering for you and supportive of you fighting back. And I know a lot of people donated to help cover the cost of your lawyer, Sam Goldstein. Do you have any message for those people?
Oh, yes. I'd like to thank everybody that stood behind me for this, especially Rebel News, of course, and you, Sheila. You're my hero now. There was a lot of people that commented on it, and I read most of them. Yes, I'd like to thank you all. But that supported me, and hopefully nothing like this ever happens again.
And congratulations on your conservative government out there. And I'm happy to hear that Carley Parish, the bully lawyer who tried to bully me to turn over the recording you took, she lost, and she lost miserably. So that's fantastic.
Yes, I agree, Sheila. Maybe she won't try it again.
Oh, she's a perennial candidate. Walter, I want to thank you so much for reporting back into us, and keep fighting for freedom out there on the East Coast.
Well, thank you very much, Sheila.
Now, after I talked to Walter, I caught up with Sam Goldstein, the top criminal lawyer we hired for Walter, with the help of those of you who donated at fightthefines.com. Just watch. Sam, why do you think that Walter's ticket ultimately ended up being tossed out of court?
Well, I think ultimately the prosecution's office realized that they just simply can't prosecute it. I heard from Walter that when he showed up in court, the prosecutor said that they were withdrawing it because they hadn't put his right address down. Now, the reality is they could always amend the ticket to put his correct address down. So I don't think that's the real reason. I think it's more the sense in which people are beginning to realize that enough is enough. And certainly in his circumstances, through Rebel News making what happened public, people began realizing that this is a ridiculous situation. He should not have been given the ticket in the first place. And I think that's the reason why. As a prosecutor, he just made it, and through Rebel News, made it embarrassing for the prosecution to go forward.
You know, that was what Walter told me too. He said that it sounds like the prosecution, the police, they're kind of sick of Walter and Walter fighting back. Do you think some of the work that you are doing through Fight the Fines is discouraging police services and some of the prosecutors from going forward with some of these tickets and fines?
Well, I think the lesson for people to learn is if you stand up for yourself, sometimes the prosecution, the Crown, will back down. It's much easier to prosecute people who are not represented by lawyers or have the backing of Rebel News. But when these people, prosecutors and so on, see that that you show up with a lawyer, or that you show up with some Rebel News behind you to publicize what's going on, then they back down. That's the lesson people should learn.
So we've got a lot of winning happening here. It was a crushing defeat in the electoral process for that lawyer, Carley Parish, a crushing defeat to her reputation as a lawyer with that insane letter she sent me. And the bully cop was taught a tough lesson that if you are going to bully people and ticket people for gently pushing back before they do try to comply, well, Rebel News and Rebel News viewers and Rebel News supporters are here to help. The attention brought to the story by hundreds of thousands of people watching and sharing the videos we did on Walter's case, and all of the people donating to help hire a lawyer for Walter and the other Fight the Fines defendants just like him, are really what helped Walter win this thing. I think fighting back like this is going to do something else, though. I think it's helping send a chill across the ticket books of the coronavirus cops all across the country. As in, if you ticket, we will come. And we're bringing our friends with us. As you can see, fighting back, it works. It's worked for Walter. It's going to work for our other cases too. Some prosecutors probably already know these cases can't or won't stand up in court. And the others, well, they might need a judge to tell them, and we're more than happy to make that happen for them. But we can't do that without your help. If you'd like to help make Canada just a little more free by fighting these crazy COVID fines with us, please donate at fightthefines.com. Help us help another person, just like Walter, teach these COVID cops a lesson they so richly deserve. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. To help us keep fighting back against the coronavirus cops and the out-of-control fines being issued to people for just trying to live their lives, please go to fightthefines.com. There on that special website, you can see all of the other people we hired a lawyer for with the help of viewers at home. That's at fightthefines.com.